welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network. And the iHeartRadio network is the #1 media company in the United States of America. And today is a beautiful November the 25th, 2016. That means it's the day after Thanksgiving for a lot of people. And if you're just like me, I know you're stuffed on food, Big C. But I also want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners calling in from Latin America. So thank you so much for following Charlton and Big C Sports, as well as you good old boys in Paris, France, and London, England. Thank you so much for following Charlton and Big C Sports, as well as I love always seeing the great people of Canada. Oh, Canada. Yeah, I said it good that time, Big C, because I didn't have that chicken bone or turkey bone or whatever was stuck in my throat, Big C. And, of course, I love saying from the land of the free and the home of the brave, the good old boys from the United States. How's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
Well, Charlton, let me put it through this way. Do you have a notepad and a pencil?
No.
I need to give you a little bit of a menu. Let's start with turkey and dressing. Let's start with honey mustard glazed ham. Let's talk sweet potato casserole.
Oh, wow.
Let's look at little mashed potatoes and gravy.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's look at little green beans, Charlton.
Yes.
Let's go with some rosemary homemade rolls, Charlton, for dinner, all right?
Yeah.
Let's break out a little bit of dessert. We'll talk about a German chocolate cake.
Oh, my goodness.
A sweet potato pie.
What kind of restaurant did you go to, Big C?
A lemon cream pie.
Oh,
Charlton.
yes.
Let's talk about being a glutton. All right? I gained 8 pounds yesterday. I'm barely breathing today.
That's funny, Big C. My goodness, what kind of restaurant did you go to, Big C?
Called the kitchen.
Okay, so wait, Big C's Kitchen? I think we just started a new chain franchise, Big C's Kitchen, Big C. Will that go well down south?
It'll work, you know. Let me tell you something. The dinner table was put up and it was all gorgeous. I pulled my stool up to the stove, okay? So what I mean on there?
That's so funny. That is all so funny. You know, we keep talking about how Big C Sports is the #1 sports show in the United States, and we're the only sports show in the world that does our sports program freestyle. That means no teleprompters. That means no producers plug in your ear. And we did issue out a challenge to all of our broadcast brethren because we simply want to make the world of broadcast more fun, Big C, and more enjoyable. And we've asked everyone from Thanksgiving all the way to December 1st, do your shows with no teleprompter and with no producers plug in your ear, and don't have 1,000 pieces of paper, on your desk letting people tell you what to read, Big C. So we'll see how many of our broadcast brethren at CBS and ABC and NBC Sports, as well as Fox and ESPN, will follow through with that. Just like going to a concert, you don't want somebody lip syncing. You want the real thing, and Charlton and Big C Sports is the real thing, Big C. So last time I want to ask you, you said you gained 10 pounds after dinner or before dinner, Big C?
Well, no, this is only 8, Charlton. I didn't make double digits yet. I'm still waiting to go back in today for Thursday and everything. But, I can't let all that food go to waste. That would be sinful. So I'm going to go in and stand in the kitchen,
Yeah, I understand, Big C. And so the great thing about Thanksgiving is I've seen so many good family members and friends and just laughing and talking and always overeating, Big C. Not that we should do that, but once a year is not going to hurt. And I do want to say that everybody, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. There's a lot of good sports still happening. People entertaining us over the beautiful holiday season, and we had some great NFL football kicking off yesterday, Big C. But before I get into some football, I just want to say that this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And Big C's is the one that gained about, 15 pounds and mud, Big C? Is that what you said?
Well, it still got some turkey feathers stuck to the side of it, and there's all that bird outside the window and the wind blows up, the sun is off and everything. So we didn't get all those off yet. If we get some rain, we might get some good things off the car.
That's funny. I've been seeing more of the commercials for the holidays, and I think it was CNN they had the commercial with the big black Cadillac Escalade like the one you drive, and it was driving through the mud, but it was splashing mud on all the white cars. You know, I thought that was kind of racist, but you know, they only splash mud on the white cars, Big C. I guess they were reacting against Donald Trump's his hate speech. If it worked for Donald Trump, it might work for Cadillac, but I thought was a great commercial. You're the only one that's been driving your car through the mud. Now Cadillac's making commercials about it. So good job, Cadillac and GM. But also, Big C, when we're talking about good jobs, some amazing things happening in the world of basketball. Just a couple of days ago, Kevin Love in the NBA, did he score 34 first quarter points, Big C?
Yes, he did. He set a record for first quarter points, Charles. He went on a barrage. Kevin Love was unconscious. Now, if you recall, at the end of last season, the mainstream media, the mainstream media,
yeah,
the guys in the know that know every damn thing,
yeah,
were saying Kevin Love was a cancer on the team and that he would be gone.
Yeah.
That he was the guy that couldn't work in the mesh with the other players on the team. But Kevin Love, Charleston, ever since he's coming to the NBA out of UCLA, has just been an all-star and a team player. He spent a lot of his early years toiling in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he never backed down, Charles. And he was on a losing team forever.
Yeah.
But he went out and gave an all-star performance every night. And he's accepted the role that they've given to him in coming to Cleveland, Charles. And it's almost like Chris Bosh down in Miami.
Yeah.
When the Heat were on that run with LeBron and Wade and Bosh, the big three, there's always going to be somebody who is not the key scorer, Charlton. And Kevin Love took a backseat. He backed off of his all-star status, became a great team, spokesperson and player.
Yeah.
And won a championship.
Yeah.
And so the mainstream media, and I love it so much, Charlton, that all these sideline reporters and everything, they can't even dribble a damn basketball. They're telling you how basketball players feel and how they think.
Yeah.
You know, analytics is one thing, being an analyst is another, Charlton.
Yeah.
But to know what an athlete goes through and what an athlete thinks is a different story. You know, and I looked at one of the sideline female reporters today, and I'm not knocking them, Charlton, but it's hard for them to understand what they're asking the coach other than a scripted question.
Yeah.
And, she's going to ask the coach, well, hey, coach, how do you feel now? Do you think that you should be in the top four?
Yeah.
And the coach is like, hey, we still got another game to play. So all season long.
Yeah.
It's not for me to think. I don't vote. All I do is get my team ready each week. Oh, okay, coach.
Well, thinking of coaches and getting their team ready, the Golden State Warriors had 47 assists. They scored 149 points versus the LA Lakers. What's going on with that? Was that Steve Kerr trying to get in Walter's mind and say, hey, I'm still the mentor, I'm still Obi-Wan, and you're Luke Skywalker, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you think about the early lambasting that, once again, the mainstream media gave the Golden State Warriors after losing a couple games out of the box.
Yeah.
And said, hey, this team is not going to mesh. They got to get rid of one of these guys. There's been talk through mainstream media. Klay Thompson has to go. Draymond Green has to go. None of these guys, Charlton, have ever been GMs, okay?
Right.
None of them have ever been head coaches. They're all dream merchants, okay? They're dreaming and fantasizing about what players think and what management do.
Yeah.
If they ever could go out there and break a sweat other than running your lips, they don't understand what the game is all about, Charlton. But, when you sit there, it takes any great team a few games to mesh. And when you look at what the Golden State Warriors have done, Charlton, running off 9 straight games.
Yeah.
I mean, any team in the NBA wants to run off 9 straight games. Ask the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
They haven't won 9 games in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay? So when people want to get out there and talk about the Warriors, and they're not going to be as good as what they once were.
Yeah.
They may not win 73, Charlton, but they'll win 70. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely true, Big C. I remember there's so many times when you don't score enough points, people say, well, there's something wrong with the chemistry. When you score too many points, they go, well, they're lucky because they have an all-star team. And we'll touch on some of the NFL in just a little bit. I know there was a lot of college football that was happening over the weekend, and I think there was a big game with LSU and Texas A&M. And LSU, man, for Coach Orgeron, he can't seem to find anyone who wants to give him a job. All he's doing is keeping his team competitive. I think they're going after the coach at Houston. Houston got beat today by Memphis, Big C. So is his stock dropping again, Big C, or is he still considered a good old boy for the job?
Well, his stock has always been on the top of the heap, Charlton, all year long. But, he's lost 3 games.
Yeah.
That's as many games, if not more, than Ed Orgeron has lost. But, you look at Orgeron, he came in mid-season, basically, Charlton.
Yeah.
And took over the organization and turned it around.
Yeah.
you know, the kid in Houston has been there for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Granted, he came out of Urban Meyer's camp, but, you know, he's been there in Houston, and he's lost 3 games this year, and he lost to Memphis, a team that he should have just dominated.
Yeah.
So how, you know, when I look at universities going out to bring in a head coach, Charlton, saying this guy is the next great guy, they got to realize the players at his former university, if they do bring him over, are not coming along with him, Charlton.
Yeah.
Those players are set up for the system that he has there. So when you come into a new university, you have 70 players sitting around there that you're going to inherit from the previous staff that have been used to playing a system.
Yeah.
Now you come in and you tell them, you got to forget all of what you've known for the last 2, 3, 4 years and learn what I'm teaching you all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Offensively, defensively. And college ball is not like pro ball where you're only bringing in 2 or 3 guys a year on the offensive defensive side and incorporating them into what you have.
Yeah.
You're changing 11 guys on the side of the ball at a time, Charlton. So, you know, you got to be careful what you wish for. It hasn't turned out well for a lot of coaches coming in. Look how long it took Clay Helton to get started after they didn't hire Orgeron.
Yeah.
Look what happened to Sarkisian after they didn't hire Orgeron at USC. So, you know, you don't always have a better story when you open the book other than what you have on the cover. Ed Orgeron has proven himself at the last 2 universities that he's been at that he deserves a head coaching job. And if LSU don't want to bring him, and he knows the SEC recruiting bench, once he was the former head coach of Mississippi, if you remember back early 2000s, he was the coach back there, Charlton. So Ed Orgeron knows the SEC, he knows the talent down there, players that believed in him. You know, when he left Mississippi, he learned that he had to relinquish some of the control of the staff to the assistants. Yeah. And that's what he's done. He's learned that, Charlton, but these presidents of the university, they're looking for sexy. And I don't know what sexy is. You know, I stopped playing ball a long time ago. So sexy left with me.
Hey, well, if you want to see sexy, don't look at us when we take off our clothes after eating a huge Thanksgiving feast, Big C. Let sexy get down a couple of days and work out in the gym a couple more times. That's what I'm thinking, Big C. And speaking of working out in the gym, this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery, and the Powerball is up to over $400 million, Big C. I've done some extra playing. I've called on Creflo Dollar. I've called on T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen. I'm calling on all these pastors to put their hands together and pray for Charlton and Big C Sports to win the Big C. You know what? Look at that. California Lottery. California starts with a C. Big C Sports. Let's win the Big C Lottery, Big C. What will you do with $400 million, Big C? Will that work for you?
Well, Charlton, I may not have to go out and hunt my own turkey anymore at that point, you know. I'm hiring somebody to hunt them for me.
You might be able to buy a new C Cadillac, the Big C Cadillac, with $400 million, Big C. So that's coming off on the Powerball for Charlton and Big C coming up, and that's going to be Wednesday. Everybody go out and buy a lotto ticket. They also give money back to the colleges. And Big C, speaking of colleges, have a lot of good college football games to get into this weekend coming up. I think today Washington, beat Washington State, so that's going to get them into the Pac-12 championship game. And they'll probably play either USC or Colorado, depending on what happens tomorrow. And also, I think Texas, did they lose that game to TCU? Do you know that, Big C?
Yeah, Texas got drubbed by TCU, so I think that's the final out for Charlie Strong. But, the kid from Houston, he said he's not interested in Texas because he understands the cesspool of Charlie Strong had to work under down there. So, it's going to make it difficult for him. I mean, when you look around the country, Charlton, where are you going to find another head coach? All you're doing is going out spending money instead of building a program that you have. You're going to fire a coach that you already have. Yeah. You got to buy out his contract. You got to buy out the contract of the coach that you go and hire from the university, because all these universities put in a buyout clause, and that's what you had in Houston. Yeah. You had a $14 million buyout clause, so whoever came and wanted to hire him had to pay the University of Houston $14 million. Yeah. And so, they got to look at that when you're going out to hire somebody. And so when we talk about college athletes, Charlton, not reaping any of the benefits of what's going out there, you're willing to pay off a university $14 million to hire their coach and not give the athletes more than a sandwich. You recall when Les Miles was let go at LSU. Yeah. They had to give him a $14 million settlement. Yeah. So, when you're throwing cash around like that, the NCAA is saying, well, the student athlete doesn't deserve a dime for making all these millions of dollars that you can pay these coaches who are not doing anything other than blowing a whistle. The NCAA really needs to take a step back. We've talked about institutionalized slavery. Yeah. It's not just in the prisons. It's in the college system, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
Because show me how many of these athletes on these major college football teams go out and get corporate jobs. Not jobs, Charlton, corporate jobs.
They don't even get jobs with the schools, Big C, once they graduate. For the African Americans, they're not looking to get those guys jobs the way they recruit them to play sports for them, Big C.
Because you look at the coaches, Charlton, they're basically corporate CEOs, okay? That's what they are. They're getting corporate CEO money, Charlton.
Yeah.
But are they going out securing jobs for their former players, Charlton? Do they have a lifeline that they can go set up and say, hey, this guy is ready to move into management? Because when you look at him, and he's worked for me for the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
He's been productive. He's been consistent. He's been on time. He's followed his assignments to the T. And we can't get him a job. What type of people are you looking for? I consider looking at athletes the way you look at our military personnel, Charlton.
Yeah.
These are the people you should hire out in mainstream world. They go out, they're dedicated, they put their lives on the line daily, Charlton. They don't leave any of the co-workers behind.
Yeah.
They make sure they help each other. They're consistent in following assignments. And these are the people that you can't hire. You won't hire the ex-military, and you won't hire ex-football players, Charlton.
Well, Big C, speaking of some of the football coming up, the college football games, I just want to get your point on a few before we get into the NFL and a few things that Bryant Gumbel talked about. And after all of the years of hearing Bryant Gumbel speak, you know, he came under a lot of kind of love and hate relationship with Bryant Gumbel in different communities. But I just want to touch on some of the things that we've been talking about for over a year that he talked about also today. But let's step into Saturday's games that's going to decide who plays in the Final Four for the national championship. We have a big game up at the University of Ohio State. You know, a Buckeye is a nut, just for all of you people that want to know what a Buckeye is. It's actually a nut. And the Buckeye Ohio State Nuts, they're 10-1 of the season. They're playing the Michigan Wolverines, ranked number 4. Ohio State's ranked number 2. Both teams 10-1. This reminds me of Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes, the great Archie Griffin, and the great Desmond Howard. All these great players with the great coaches and the atmosphere, over 100,000 people in the stands. Big C, I remember talking to someone from Ohio just today, and she was saying she loved Ohio State, but she could not get into a game because you just can't get a ticket. But in this game, Ohio State is favored by 6.5 points. The great Urban Meyer over your good old boy that travels all around the country in airplanes to recruit kids. Coach Harbaugh is a 6-point underdog at Ohio State. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, you know, the horseshoe, Charleston, will be rocking 105,000 strong in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
But, you know, this game is taking on the lineage of games of the past, Charleston. When you talk about the great program of Ohio State and Michigan over the years, how you look forward to the end of the season. And so often, Charlton, the winner of this game in the past would always represent the Big Ten.
Yeah.
In the Rose Bowl, that's no longer the case now, but we're talking about getting into the national championship playoff. Michigan lost their starting quarterback State 2 weeks ago. But, you know, this is a team that relies on the run game, and that's what they have to establish. We're looking to have some inclement weather up in, you know, Columbus, Ohio. But, Charlton, this is a game of pure emotion. You know, you got two great organizations and a lot of emotion. You got two teams and organizations that generally just hate each other, Charles.
Yeah.
They literally hate each other, and that's how you look at it in football. You cannot really care about your opponent if you plan on going out and giving an optimum performance.
Yeah.
But this will be a hard-fought game. I think Ohio State does have a slight edge with J.T. Barrett at quarterback. Even though this year they had 17 new starters and they've gone out, and they've been, 10-1.
They be low.
17 new starters, Charlton.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer knows how to win. Jim Harbaugh is a guy who's a tactician who's won at every level and every place that he's ever been, from San Diego to Stanford to the San Francisco 49ers and back in Michigan.
Yeah.
But I also think that Harbaugh is auditioning to get to the Chicago Bears, Charlton. It's not at the end of this year. Next year is where he'll end up with the Chicago Bears, where he started out his pro career. But this will be a great game, and like you said, Ohio State has a slight edge at home.
Well, thinking of the two coaches, Big C, and you actually brought up the point, you and Jay Billis are really the only ones that I hear bringing up this point about this free labor, for the most part, is black labor, a lot like Jim Crow, the days of Jim Crow, and sharecropping, where you put in your labor for money. These guys, when you look at Harbaugh and Urban Meyer, great coaches, right? But they're no greater than the parents that raised kids that went to these universities. I think the combined salary without bonus, Jim Harbaugh is making right about $10 million a year. Urban Meyer, I think he's making right about $6 million a year. So you're talking $16 million, Big C, excluding bonuses, excluding what they'll get if they go to the BCS Final Four championship game, $16 million implying between two white men. Okay, got to point the color because their teams are about 85% African American, and when you look at the starters, they're about 90% African American. So you have African American players that are playing for free for two white coaches that are making combined almost $20 million, Big C, and they're telling me that they don't have enough money to pay athletes. Give me about a minute of your thoughts, Big C. Why?
Well, Charlton, is as you say, free labor. And we talked about Tom Herman, everybody recruiting him out of Houston. Okay, everybody's had a love affair with this. And what you're saying, Charlton, is that there's no quality black coaches out there. Even though we can take a losing white coach, but there's no quality black coaches, nor are we going to give them a chance because of this type of money. Why would I pay a black guy this type of money when I can get him to be assistant? And the assistant is really the key in the cards for any organization, Charlton. They're the ones that work at the positions every day. Yeah. But when you look at that, what Ohio State is paying Urban Meyer, what Michigan is playing Jim Harbaugh, why is it throughout the years? And the NCAA is very aware of this. They have no problem suspending players. They say improper benefits. Okay, we go back to your boy Reggie Bush, kid who lived down the street from you. Okay. Him and the family in a rented house from the Bush. Right. All they did was receive a house, Charlton. They were a place of living, but the NCAA said they should live in an impoverished situation. They should not reap the benefits of living in a decent neighborhood. That's like Jim Crow. They have that lifestyle. Yeah. As long as they do that to athletes, and it's accepted by mainstream society, and mainstream society knows that it's wrong, Charlton. Yeah. That these guys should receive benefits. They understand. I mean, look at the broadcasters on air, Charlton, that are broadcasting games. Yeah. You're going to tell me they're not reaping the benefits of African-American athletes? You and I have talked about mainstream. Go out and broadcast some Ivy League games. See how exciting it is. Yeah. When you got only 7,000 people in the stands, Charlton. That game is not exciting. Those Ivy Leaguers are going elsewhere to watch the mainstream games, Charlton, but you have to look at this is free labor, as you say, free labor and free entertainment. Yeah. These guys are working for food, Charlton. That's basically all they're doing. They're working for food, so if we feed them, put a roof over their head, they should be happy. Yeah. Why should they complain? They should not expect more than that. Well, and those who don't become professionals, it's called collateral damage, casualty of war. Well, Big C, another big game, and I know you're excited about this, and it's probably why you haven't slept in about 48 hours, because you had a big game with your good old boys. They're both from the same state, number 16 ranked Auburn. They're 8-3 on the season. They're playing at number 1 Alabama. And Alabama, of course, is 11-0. And, what is it like for, I think they call this game the Iron Bowl. And when you look at Alabama's favorite by 17, but it doesn't really matter because there's something about the whole state. This is like the Super Bowl for the whole state of Alabama. Why is this game so big? And, of course, your good old boy, Nick Saban, and the coach for Auburn, they're making combined over 10. Yeah, they're making over combined $11 to $12 million. Big C, your thoughts on this game? Well, this is truly the Continental Divide. They say it's in the middle of the United States up in the Colorado. No, it's divide in Alabama. Okay? But it's very simple. Yeah. What's the symbol for Alabama? Roll Tide? Yeah, I think big elephant roll tide. Yeah. Okay, now you go down to Auburn, Charlton, you got a confused university. They don't know if they're hard tight. That's because of the moonshine, Big C. I thought they were the Auburn Tigers, or then the Auburn Tigers or the Eagles, Big Z. This is their problem. Until they get an identity, they expect to win the big game. So you can't go out there. Who's playing Tigers? Who's playing Eagles? Well, so basically, it's 2-1. So Alabama goes out and win this game. Does it count as 2 victories or 1 victory? I'm confused, The thing about the South, too, when they're good up, the way you guys hunt for wildlife, I'm surprised those Eagles or those Tigers make it through a whole season with you good up boys, moonshining and all the way you guys do it, Big C. Well, we hear birds praying on birds. Yeah, that's funny. So your thoughts on the game, Alabama, the great game they had about 2 seasons ago when I think Auburn returned a kickoff, or was a missed field goal, about 100-plus yards, and down the sideline,
and they had a great wall set up and took it into the end zone, and they scored. That was just a miraculous season for Auburn. They went on to play Florida State in the Rose Bowl, Big C. Any hope or thought of an upset from the good boys of the Auburn Tigers or Eagles or whatever they are, Big C?
Charleston, Jalen Hurd has been a different maker since game one against that team that wears the white horse. So, teams are
the USC Trojans, okay.
Okay. If you're a team with an animal, you got to understand that the Trojans is a big animal.
Okay.
And they have a tendency to run up.
Oh, that's funny.
That's why you're talking about roll tide. But Jalen Hurd, the freshman quarterback for Alabama, under the tutelage of Lane Kiffin, has just been phenomenal, Charles. And he has matured and gotten better with every game. If you recall 2 weeks ago, he was the first quarterback in Alabama history to pass for 300 yards and rush for 100 yards in a game. And like we said, Charles, this guy is a true freshman. Last year, this time, he was playing in high school playoff games. Down in Texas, but this kid has developed, and Alabama's always been a stalwart on defense. That defensive front seven they possess, Charlton, really is the defensive front 14 because they rotate too deep throughout the game, and so no one ever gets tired. And that's been the key to Alabama, is that they just wear down opposing offenses. They don't give them a chance to take a breath or get untracked, because anybody from Alabama needs a break. The guy that's coming in is just as good as the guy going out.
Just as good,
And so I like Alabama in this game. They're ranked number one in the country, and there's no reason to believe that they will not be ranked number one coming out of this game, Charlton.
Well, Big C, just one more game, actually two to get into. We talk about coaches in trouble, and one of the best rivalries, intersectional rivalries in the history of college football, is when Notre Dame, they come in with a 4-7 record into Southern California at number 12 USC. USC is actually 8-3 on the season after getting off to a bad 1-3 start. A lot of people think they're the hottest team in college football outside of maybe Alabama and maybe Clemson, one of those good old boys. I just want to ask your thoughts on Kelly. We do believe that they'll let go of Charlie Strong down in Texas. Will there be any talk of Kelly after getting Notre Dame on probation? Is he going to be on the hot seat when they go into Southern California, get beat? USC is a 17-point spread, and that game is going to be 3:30 ABC Sports. Your thoughts on the USC Notre Dame game? Will it be Kelly's final game, Big C?
Well, no, I don't think so, Charlie, because whatever
you don't think so?
Whatever's going on with Kelly, the administration's been hand in hand with Charlton. We talked about it on several different occasions. Remember at the beginning of the season when they had a half dozen players suspended, Charlton, and arrested, and that following week they're playing in the game? The administration is just as culpable for this with Kelly's situation as he is, in this. Because those losses and those games that they had to forfeit, administration was as much a part of that as anything else, Charlton. So don't sit there and blame it all on Kelly, even though he may be one of those people. But, you got people in administration at the university that are aware of what's going on at Notre Dame. And we spoke about this. I was telling you about a situation that occurred back in 1974. When they released seven players on a sexual misconduct allegation. Notre Dame, nobody in the front office, in the dean, in the president of the university, none of these people ever fired, Charlton. These are the guys that, are untouchable. But, when you get rid of a head coach at any university, Charlton, someone in the administration has to be held accountable. Because they were part of the hiring. They were part of the budget that was set for that coach. They are aware of what goes on. And if they have lack of institutional control or knowledge, if you're the dean of a university, then you should be fired also. Just like at the University of Missouri last year, when the dean had to go, when the players said, hey, we're going to boycott. And I think a lot of college teams should look into that. As players, if you want to get paid, you want fair treatment at these universities, say, hey, we're going to boycott. Think about if Michigan or Ohio State boycotted this week, Charlton. 105,000 people sitting in the stadium waiting on all these black kids to show up and don't show up. Okay? They're going to be disgruntled, disappointment, and the broadcast network, Charlton, whether it's ABC, I believe it's ABC.
ABC,
How would they feel? They would feel really butthurt if these players say, hey, we're not going to play. You're going to give everybody else the money, and we're not going to get it. All we're going to get out of this is a championship ring for the conference. Maybe a sweatsuit, a chance at the national playoffs where you're still going to go out and make another $25 million. And you're not getting anything. Be real. The players of the NCAA, college basketball, baseball, football, track and field, swimming, tennis, soccer, volleyball, they're going to have to band together someday.
Yeah.
Society has changed, Charlton, from what it was 40 years ago. It has changed. The economic table has been slanted even more.
Yeah, always has.
They don't even get a crumb now.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we got coaches eating filet mignon. And the players are eating a cheese sandwich, okay?
Well,
that's the disparity that we have.
Yeah, and it's not going to change unless the players and athletes do something about it. They say we don't want to lose a scholarship. A lot of them are not graduating anyway, Big C. The final college game before we touch on some NFL this weekend. Number 13, Florida, the Gators. They're going to be in the SEC championship game, and they're 8-2 on the season right now. They're playing at number 14, Florida State, 8-3. Two different conferences, same state, the SEC versus the ACC. And Florida State is actually favored by 7.5. But Florida's going to be the team going on to play most likely Alabama in the SEC championship game, Big C. Your thoughts on this rivalry? So many great programs in the state of Florida, but they're not in the same conference. Your thought on this game, Big C?
Well, when you just look at Florida as a whole, talking Florida State, Miami, you know, these schools are heritage schools for its performance and talent that they've put out over the years.
Yeah.
And this is just one of those games that, you know, you got all these players that grew up with each other. They were neighbors. They played in the same high school. They've always been friends with each other, Charlton. That's what you have to look at. This is an emotional ball game. This is a game that starts with emotion and ends with emotion. And this is a fair game. This is a pick'em contest.
Yeah. Because
when you look at Francois, the freshman quarterback at Florida State, who's had some up and downs this year, but he's developed quite nicely. Florida's had trouble at quarterback where they've had injuries. They had Del Rio, who started out the season, got hurt. He came back, wasn't getting the job done. They had to go to the third-string quarterback. So Florida right now is still trying to find itself identity-wise. Florida State hasn't had the season that they expected. There's been a lot of talk of Jimbo Fisher may be in the running for the LSU job, Charlton.
Yeah.
But I look at a great contest. I look at Francois to end his freshman season on a high note, and Florida State to eke one out against Florida.
And speaking of Florida State and Florida, this segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. We are also endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. We work with all of the unions under the AFL-CIO, and we're looking to hire over 1,000 life insurance agents. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at YesCharlton on Twitter. And also keep in mind that iHeartRadio is the #1 media company in the United States of America, and Charlton and Big C Sports is the #1 sports show in the universe, and we are the only freestyle universe in the universe sports program. That means no teleprompters. There's no producer's microphone in our ear, and there's no one speaking in our ear to tell us what to say. This is just real sports talk, and we're asking all of our brethren to team up with us and just do that this week between now and the first part of December. If you can keep in mind, this is an entertainment industry. We love bringing real entertainment to everybody, so if you can follow along with us and just do it freestyle, you know, get the information that you need, speak extemporaneously, and try to give the audience what they really want. Big C, speaking of giving the audience what they really want, if you looked at the NFL over the Thanksgiving Day, some great games happening, but I want to get to the first game that I was so impressed by. It was the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, a 31-26 score. Your thoughts on Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott? They really make a 1-2 punch, and looks like they're going to at least be in the NFC Championship game, Big C.
Well, Charlton, think about it. No more said than 10-1. When were the Cowboys ever 10-1 before?
Never.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the illustrious history of the Dallas Cowboys, you think about Don Meredith, you think about Roger Staubach, you think about Danny White, Troy Aikman, great quarterbacks in the past in Dallas, Charlton. Even the kid that's sitting on the bench, Tony Romo. They've never been 10-1. But you know, the call me during this broadcast, Charlton, as we hear it all the time, and we've heard it this entire season.
Yeah.
You got these broadcasters hoping that something negative happens to Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before, Charlton. We have these so-called highly intelligent broadcasters, the analysts and the play-by-play guys, Charlton, sitting there speaking negative in light of a quarterback that's 10-1, 9-1 going into the game, that ended up 10-1 when the game was over.
Yeah.
And they're speaking about the backup quarterback, why he should be the starter. And, you know, maybe something happened to Zach, if he hits a struggle, if they lose a game, all of a sudden they're going to toss Tony Romo in there. He hasn't had any room for error. And these are racist comments, Charlton. you got Joe Buck and Troy Aikman making racist comments, and Troy Aikman was a quarterback with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
He's still a white quarterback.
Yeah.
And he has a hard time sitting there looking at a black quarterback take a franchise that he quarterbacked, even though Zach hasn't won a Super Bowl, is break all his win records with the Cowboys. And white guys have a hard time with that. They have a hard time accepting it, the success of someone that's not in their race. And Zach Prescott hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't said anything wrong. I take that back. He has done something wrong, Charlton. He's been a winning rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
When you had these quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him, they were so-called franchise quarterbacks, that haven't done anything.
Well, Big C, it's ironic when you bring that up because you're not the only person that caught that. There's a lot of media people that I've known for the last 30 years. You're over 40 years for yourself. But just a lot of people were saying, why are they not treating Prescott, who's getting the Cowboys off to the best start in the history of the organization, even television? They kept showing Romo as if he's supposed to be the guy in the game. However, when I notice other teams that sit the quarterback, they're not always on the sideline hoping the guy that's taken them to the best record they've ever had, gets hurt. I mean, it seems like they're hoping for that. I don't know if it's coach speak or what it is, but at some point in time, you just want to acknowledge the guy that's doing the best for you, no matter what sport it is. And I caught that too, because let's keep in mind, in sports is very competitive, and no guy wants to see someone break his record. But I would think that you would have someone, like a Troy Aikman and a Joe Buck, do more, what they call butt kissing or being a sycophant to the guy that's starting, but they're trying to be a sycophant to the guy that's been best, Big C, and I know that's their prerogative to do that because Fox decided to make them their top broadcasters. But you would think the person that goes to the wedding, the one getting married, is the one you talk about, not the person who got stood up at the altar, Big C. Just your thoughts on that commentation there.
Well, Charlton, and it's bothered me, not just this year, but many years in the past, Charlton, when you're sitting around and you're seeing one of these scenarios that you got the guys in the broadcast booth hoping that the guy that's playing and doing well does bad.
Yeah.
And why would you do that as a professional and also supposedly intelligent man, Charlton?
Yeah.
Sitting there hoping that the guy fails so the guy that you've been in love with, your ex-boyfriend, can come back into the game, Charlton. And that's totally wrong. When we talked about parity and fairness in sports, Charlton, this is not that. And we've seen this so often with the underlying words that we hear about African-American athletes, Charlton. When an African-American athlete comes on the scene, they say, well, he's a great talent. Yeah. And they say, well, he has to work hard. Yeah. And he's built himself up like that. You get a white athlete, well, he's very intelligent and cerebral. And the black athlete, well, he has a good understanding of the game.
Now, is that something that Brian Gumbel also brought up? I know Brian Gumbel's been a major network anchor for years. I think he was with NBC television, NBC News, and he's actually had such a great history in the broadcast booth. Now I think he's doing work with HBO, and he's, of course, the brother of the great, Greg Gumbel. And I want to ask you, did Brian had a few comments to make about that? Again, I've only heard yourself and Brian Gumbel, maybe one other person talk about it's the code words, it's little buzzwords. Not that anyone's paranoid, that just certain things you hear, like, if he gets hurt, then Romo can come back and play. Why not celebrate the fact that you have the best franchise right now, if you go by the win and loss record, in the NFL, and there's two reasons that they're doing it. Those two new additions to the team that were not a part of it last year. You would think they'd be more congratulating the success of these guys, not saying, Dak could have been a little bit better on that pass, or he should have floated that ball a little bit more, as opposed to saying this guy is leading this team, he's intelligent, he has instincts, he's worked hard, he knows the playbook, he knows how to call off the checks of the line of scrimmage, he knows when to audible, he's not making mistakes, he only has 2 interceptions in 10 weeks, Big C. At some point in time, you got to say, this is who we want to build our franchise for the next 10 years, Big C.
Well, you would think it would be more celebratory, Charlton, but it's not. It's anti-black is what you've seen. And we see that all the time with the catchwords, And Brian Gumbel was elaborating on what Phil Jackson had said. You and I had talked about that before, and you said you didn't feel that Phil meant anything by it. And I told you
the posse.
The posse. And it went to other black people in the media. Yeah. And they felt the same way that I felt, that Phil said this intentionally.
Well, has he come out and apologized, though? He's probably come out and apologized. Has he, Big C?
No, he hasn't.
Oh, he hasn't.
As many black people that have made Phil as famous as he is, Charlton, he still feels that way. That there's leaders. You know, in the white world, you don't hear posse. But in the black world, it got to be a posse, a derogatory statement, you know. So, and if you go back to the Western days, what was the posse? The posse was somebody that was going out to kill somebody.
Yeah.
They were going out with bad intentions, and that's basically what you're saying about black people when you call them a posse. They're going out with bad intentions instead of being intelligent businessmen. And this is Phil Jackson making that statement, y'all. So if Phil Jackson feels that way, who's part of corporate America, corporate sports America, y'all.
Yeah.
He's the leader of an NBA franchise. And these are the guys who sit in the boardrooms with each other, and they talk to each other in conference, Charlton. So if Phil is saying that, the rest of these guys in his position are saying that also. And this is the reason why we don't see African Americans, Charlton, in these dominant, you know, corporate and management positions in sports and in the mainstream world. Because of that, then you can't say these things that you normally say.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing that keeps African Americans out of these positions. It's just like with the Detroit Lions on the weekend.
Yeah.
Jim Caldwell, think about this. You know, he has the Lions in first place in the Central Division. First time in a long time, Charlton, since about 1989, somewhere along there, when the Detroit Lions with Eric Kramer at quarterback won the division and Barry Sanders at running back.
Yeah.
But, you know, he gets no credit for turning this organization around, Charlton, beating the Minnesota Vikings for the second time this season.
Yeah, 16-13. Yeah.
Yes, Matthew Stafford has done a good job at quarterback, but Jim Caldwell is turning around his organization. How many losing white coaches did the Lions have prior to Caldwell coming in?
Yeah.
He's getting no credit as an African-American coach, Charlton. It's just, okay, well, it's the players now doing it. But, you know, you look at an organization that's winning, it's just like in Dallas. It's Jason Garrett now. Jason Garrett's been the coach in Dallas how long? 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, he finally get an African-American quarterback. He's a damn genius.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you know, it was all Tony Romo. Now that, you know, Dak Prescott is winning, it's Jason Garrett doing a fine job to bringing along this young quarterback.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Jason Garrett dodge any pass rush out there, Charlton. I haven't seen him cross any goal line. Matter of fact, Jason Garrett spent his career as a backup quarterback in Dallas and with the New York Giants.
Yeah.
So far as Jason Garrett being a great quarterback, he was a great watcher then just like he is now. He sits back and watches other great quarterbacks play. He's never gone out there and challenged, whether it was Troy Aikman or any of the guys in New York, Eli Manning. He's always been a spectator watching these guys, Charlton, just like he's been a spectator in watching another outstanding quarterback in Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have the ability to get Tony Romo any better. So,
Yeah.
I mean, let's be realistic about that, Charlton. How did he make Tony Romo any better as a quarterback? But
Never,
Dak
yeah.
Prescott walked in with natural talent and is developed. But he's not, you know, he understands the game. He's more intelligent than what the white broadcasters want to give him credit for.
Yeah.
Because other than that, the whole NFL dumbed down for the last 11 weeks to allow him to be a good quarterback, as they were trying to say Dallas simplified the offense. Only thing that's been simplified is the broadcaster's analogy of the situation in Dallas, Charlton.
Well, Big C, in the final 20 minutes, we'll get on the rest of the NFL coming up. And I'm going to say this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Twitter on Charlton and Big C Sports. And we're also trying to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers. In the final 20 minutes, we'll quickly run down some NFL games. Cincinnati Bengals 3-6-1 at Baltimore Ravens 5-5. That game is Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on CBS Sports with Iron Eagle, Dan Fouts, and then Evan Washburn. They have the Ravens favored by 4. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Well, you know, this is a game that the Ravens should win, but Charlton, the Ravens have been inconsistent just like Cincinnati had. And so if Marvin Lewis loses this game, he's on the way out. You know, he's not going to hang around much longer. Or Harbaugh loses this game.
Yeah.
He's on the way out. You got two coaches that are fighting for their lives playing each other, Charlton. They're in the same division.
Yeah.
Neither one's going to make the playoffs. But the loser of this game will be looking for another job next year, Charlton.
Los Angeles Rams 4-6 at New Orleans Saints, also at 4-6. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox Sports. Chris Myers, Rondé Barber, and Jennifer Hale. The Saints are favored by 7. And your thoughts on this game coming up, Big C?
Well, you know, I like the Saints offense. The Rams have just as good a defensive line as anybody in pro football. You think about it, last week they limited the Jets, Charlton, to just 6 points.
Yeah.
They won 9-6, and this is not the first game that they won without giving up a touchdown this year, Charlton, or even scoring a touchdown. So the Rams, defensively, and we knew they had a great defensive line coming into the season, but they had also a tremendous running back that they've been stepping flexible about using. They've been trying to play these quarterbacks that haven't gotten the job done.
Yeah.
But you got Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley can run the ball against the New Orleans Saints. If they allow him to run the ball, they'll beat the Saints because Drew Brees is going to put up 300 yards on the Rams defense.
He'll definitely get his numbers, Big C. Also, Arizona Cardinals 4-5-1 at the Atlanta Falcons 6-4. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox. The great Kevin Burkhardt, John Lynch, and Pam Oliver with the play-by-play. They have the Falcons favored by 5, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Falcons, they have been that up and down inconsistent team, Charlton. They 1 week they're hot, next week they're cold. They started like a barn on fire.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan couldn't do anything wrong, but the last 2 weeks he's been a pedestrian quarterback. Julio Jones has been on the limp, and I think one of the problems is Ryan has relied on Julio Jones so much that when he's not at full steam, the offense struggles. They're getting away from the running game with Dante Freeman. They got to get back to that if they want to win, but the Falcons have to win if they plan on dominating their division the rest of the season.
And then another game, San Francisco 49ers 1-9. They're on the road at the Miami Dolphins at 6-4. That game is Sunday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Thorne Brenneman, Charles Davis, Chris Spielman, and the great Holly Sanders doing that game. The Dolphins are favored by 7.5. Kaepernick is accounting for about 80% of the 49ers total offense. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Well, I like the Dolphins, Charlton. They've quietly won 5 games in a row. People haven't realized that they're sneaking up the second place in the Eastern Division. Nobody's going to catch New England. But they've done a tremendous job developing the running game with a guy. The defensive line has played solid. And so if they continue on the path that they are, if Tannehill doesn't get cocky, allow a guy to run the football, Miami should have an easy time in this game, Charlton.
Another game, Big C. The Jacksonville Jaguars are only 2-8. They're on the road at the Buffalo Bills. Now, Buffalo is 5-5. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Andrew Catalan, Steve Tasker, and Steve Berline have the play-by-play. They have the Bills favored by 7.5, and Tyrod Taylor is looking at a $27 million extension, but there's some talk, is he going to be the guy that gets that extension? I think they should sign that extension before the game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Gus Bradley and Blake Bortles down in Jacksonville haven't gotten the job done, Charlton. This coaching quarterback, there was so much was expected from them 3 years ago, and they just haven't developed. Going up to Buffalo this time of the year, you can have inclement weather. Now, this is a hot weather team going up to the cold, which normally spells disaster for a team from Florida going up north.
Yeah.
I like Buffalo in this game. Buffalo has a very strong run defense, one of the tops in the NFL. They've gotten Percy Harvin back. He's been with the organization now for the past couple of weeks, so he should be ready to play.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor knows that he's playing for a contract extension. That really motivates a lot of players. And if they can get anything out of Shady McCoy running out of the backfield, Charlton, this should be a pretty easy victory for Buffalo.
Tennessee Titans 5-6, Big C on the road at the Chicago Bears. The Monsters of the Midway are only 2-8 on the season. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. Spiro Davis as well as Solomon Wilcox love his voice. The Titans are favored by 5 on the road against the Bears. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is one of those games, Charlton, where the Bears are going to be without Jay Cutler. People are expecting his season to be over. But Marcus Mariota, 1 week he looks like a world beater because he's doing what a quarterback should do, and that's staying in the pocket, Charlton.
Yeah.
The next week he wants to go back to his college antics and being mobile and running around. And when he does that, not only does he hurt himself, but he hurt his team. He's a very polished passer in the pocket. He can deliver the ball. He has a great running back in Murray, who's second in the NFL in rushing.
Yeah.
If he just becomes that pure pocket passer, Charlton, Tennessee will win the game because Chicago, they're a team just as disarrayed quarterback as the Cleveland Browns. They don't know who's going to play.
They really don't know, Big C. Another game, you have the New York Giants at 7-3. They're at the Cleveland Browns 0-11. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox. The great Dick Stockton, Matt Millen, and Peter Shager have that play-by-play. The Giants are favored by 7, and the Giants are 7-3 despite being -7 in the turnover. Big C, your thought?
Well, this is one of those games that the Giants should win. They've developed their running game. The last 3 weeks, Charlton, it's been a pretty dominant running game that they've had. Eli Manning, if the game is close, has found a way to keep opposing team close to the fourth quarter. He is known as Mr. Interception in the NFL through his entire career during the fourth quarter. So, this is a game, like we said, the Browns, they're looking at history, trying to go 0-16.
Yeah.
No NFL team has done that before. The Giants will win this game handily, Charlton.
Big C, I'm telling you, this is another game coming up. The San Diego Chargers, they are 4-6. They're on the road at the Houston Texans that are 6-4. That game is Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon. And the Chargers are favored by 2 on the road against the $72 million Brock Osweiler. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Osweiler, Charlton, has to be the most disappointing of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, even above the rookies, Charlton. When you look at Carson Wentz, is basically outplayed him. Jared Goff hasn't won anything. Nobody's played close to Dak Prescott. But here it is. You bring this kid in out of Denver, who had only played 8 NFL games and only had won 5. So he hasn't done anything really to warrant the money that he had, other than the broadcast media, Charlton. When you think about it, the broadcast media made Brock Osweiler this rich man, not his performance on the field, and it's coming to fruition. Here it is when he's being asked to perform week in and week out. He is just not getting the job done. And Houston has had a tremendous defense over the last 5 years, led by J.J. Watt, who is not playing this year. But those cohorts of his, especially led by Brian Cushing, are just stalwarts on the defensive side of the ball. But, I don't look at Houston in winning this game, Charlton. Brock Osweiler has to prove to me that he can come out and be a steadying force for an offense, which he just hasn't done yet.
In the final 10 minutes, Big C, I just want to interject a little bit. Prior to the draft, you and I, with Big C Sports, and I don't think anyone else was saying that you think about the running back out of Ohio State, Ezekiel Elliott. We were both saying that Ezekiel Elliott should be the #1 pick in the NFL. You didn't hear that by the good old guy. Who's the guy over there? Mel Kiper?
Mel Kiper, Todd McShay.
You didn't hear about
talking about these so-called
quarterbacks. These media.
I guess to be a franchise quarterback, you can't be a #1 draft pick. Derek Carr. Dak Prescott. You can't be a #1 draft pick. You got to be a lower round draft pick. But normally that's a position to save for African American running backs, Charlton, to be a mid-round draft pick, because they know they can get the mileage out of them and not pay him any money. They can pay this quarterback $100 million to hand the ball off to him. But, and when they win the game from the running perspective, and we see the teams that don't run the football, Tannehill in Miami, when they weren't running the ball and finally get the ball to a guy, all of a sudden they go on a 5-game winning streak.
Well, Big C, I applaud you for being prescient enough, because you're the only one that was talking about, and you and I were talking about, they should get Ezekiel Elliott as the #1 pick coming out of college football, just based on what he did all season long. This kid was amazing. Every time he has 20 touches, he's good for 100 yards. And we saw how he played against NFL caliber players, against Alabama. Also, when he's gone up against the bigger games, whether it's Oregon or Michigan, he's always played great. The way he's shifty and fast, everything that the commentators are saying about him now, you were saying it when he was in college football, but the media made them pick these 2 white quarterbacks. And ironically, the Rams and also the Eagles are in last place in their division, and the Rams only gave their quarterback 1 start. So again, with all the national media, Big C, you're the only one that proved to be correct in Prescott and Elliott, because they're the top 2 guys, should be players of the year in the NFL, and of course, rookies of the year. Back to the NFL in the final 10 minutes, Big C. We have the Seattle Seahawks at 7-2-1 on the road at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 5-5. Sunday, 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports. Kenny Albert, Dale Johnson, and Laura Oakman to have the play-by-play. The Seahawks are favored by 6 points in that game. Big C, your thoughts?
The Seahawks are getting better and better on the weekly basis, Charlton. They're finding a running game with Forsythe. But Doug Baldwin, this undrafted wide receiver out of Stanford, is one of the top receivers in the NFL now, Charlton. Russell Wilson, as we say, wasn't a franchise quarterback, a 3rd-round draft pick. Damn, there's something ironic about these guys that are not franchise quarterbacks. They just keep winning. Tom Brady wasn't a franchise quarterback. He was a 6th-round draft pick. So, these so-called experts who keep going out there talking about these guys that are can't-miss guys. So let's go back, even if you looked at the last 10 years of these so-called franchise quarterbacks drafted in the 1st round, how many of them are broadcasters now are doing other things, Charlton? They just haven't gotten the job done. So these so-called experts are letting these guys slip through the crack, go to the lower round, and panning out to be Super Bowl quarterbacks, things of that nature. You got to figure it out. Somebody's paying the wrong amount of money.
Well, Big C, even it was Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason and Trent Dilfer and all these great guys that call themselves, quarterback gurus, and they were all saying that it's Wentz and it should be Goff taking the number 1 and number 2 picks in the entire NFL. And we were saying, what are they talking about? What kind of moonshine were you sipping, these good old boys? And they were just building up all this image. I don't hear them coming out saying that they were wrong. If you look at all the teams that win championships, it's a running game with a defense. And the best running back coming out of college football was Ezekiel Elliott, but he didn't get the kind of contract that some of these good old boys got, Big C. But if Dallas wins the Super Bowl, if Jerry Jones doesn't mess it up, it's going to be because Ezekiel Elliott moves the ball, controls the clock, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, he's a slicing runner, he can get you 5 yards to carry. And then you look at Prescott, you can't even fluster this guy. He's like Colin Kaepernick when they had a good support around him. He's good, accurate throwing the ball downfield. He can roll out and throw it in the flat. He's very accurate. He could also run for 15 yards. If you saw the stiff arm that he gave one of the linebackers against the Redskins, Big C, you don't get that out of Romo. You don't get that out of Wentz. You don't get that out of Goff. But these two guys that you were on all year saying they should be the 1 or 2 picks in the NFL draft, I don't know what these NFL GMs are sipping on, but maybe they're just hanging out with the good old boys, Big C. But very present you were on that pick. The final couple of games in the last several minutes, Big C, we have the New England Patriots at 8-2 on the road at the New York Jets 3-7. That game is Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Greg Gumbel, Trick Green, and Jamie Erdahl. The Patriots are favored by 7 over the Jets. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, this is one of those games that's a catch game for the Jets. I mean, Todd Bowles, the coach, he's on the hot seat only after his second year. But you also got to look at management of the Jets, Sharp. And they haven't drafted anybody for him to have out there on the field. You know, they stayed with Fitzpatrick, but they played him all preseason long, not paying him. Then by the time he came in, he hadn't had any preseason work. You know, you got Geno Smith that they basically given up on. You got a couple guys, Hacklenberg out of Penn State, who had never done anything in college other than decline.
Yeah.
And so this is what you have as an organization. You got upper management that's not helping out the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And so if you're not doing that, you can't expect anything. But on the other hand, you look at the New England Patriots. They draft players who fit their needs, not the guy that the so-called draft experts are saying this guy should be on your draft radar and this is the guy you should take. And that's what they're doing. And you know, you look at Hackenberg, just like with the kid out of Cal, Goff.
Yeah.
Never won anything in college.
No,
After
nothing.
the freshman season went downhill, but yet he's a second, third round draft pick of the Jets talking about their future quarterback. It's hard to think about a guy declining numbers over 3 years in college and goes high in the draft. If he's African-American, he becomes a free agent.
Yeah.
And I've seen many African-American quarterbacks over the years with better numbers than Hackenberg. I go back a couple of years ago, pre-Deshaun Watson at Clemson, when you had the quarterback there, and I can't recall it, Taj Boyd.
Yeah.
Taj Boyd was lighting the world on fire at Clemson. The Jets cut him.
Yeah.
And what do they have better than him? And he went as a 6th-round draft pick, Charlton. He held all the Clemson records, passing records, started as a freshman. But the NFL only saw him as a 6th-round draft pick and cut him soon afterwards.
Yeah.
So this is what we look at. If you're a winning African-American quarterback in college, you don't have the ability to play in the NFL. But if you're a losing white quarterback in college, then you're a number 1 draft pick or you're a franchise player.
Well, sure.
You know, I'm trying to understand the evaluation process of the NFL pre-draft and these so-called extras, John.
Well, when we look at another game, we have the Kansas City Chiefs 7-3 at the Denver Broncos, also 7-3. That game is Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC Sports. The great Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya is doing the broadcast there. The Broncos are favored by 3.5. I don't know where Al Michaels is, but they sure are working Tirico quite a bit, Big C. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, you think about the Broncos, Dalton. This is a team, when they beat Carolina in that opening game, nobody thought that they would win or lose a game all season at that point.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden they had a hiccup. They lost a couple games in a row, and, you know, Simeon has thrown the ball more this year than what Peyton Manning and Osweiler did all of last season, Charlton, in the same number of games. So this is a team that's devoid of a running attack this year. Anderson's been a little bit banged up. And that was the difference in this team last year. They had that solid running game, even in the Super Bowl. Anderson should have been the MVP, but he wasn't going to get it. They were giving it to Peyton as long as he could breathe.
Yeah.
He was getting that walking away. But, you know, without the running game, Simeon has not continued the success that he had in the first 4 or 5 games. So Denver's need to certainly put their running back game back together. Their defense has been vulnerable the last month, Charlton. So they're going to have to pick up the tempo also, with some talk about Talib possibly being traded or released.
Yeah.
That hasn't come to fruition, and I think that bothers the rest of the defensive team, Charlton, but also Ware has been out most of the year at defensive end.
Yeah, in the last 5 minutes, Big C, will jump to Monday night's game. We have Mike Tirico again flying from the great city of Denver over to Philadelphia. Green Bay Packers 4-6 on the season at the Philadelphia Eagles 5-5. Monday Night Football, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN with Mike Tirico, John Gruden, and Lisa Salters doing the play-by-play. The Eagles are favored by 4 at home, Big C, and Wentz favorite over the Packers, Big C. Even though they're at home, I think that's a game for Rodgers to turn it around. Your thoughts, Big C?
Rodgers has surprised me all year, Charlton, by his lack of consistency and productivity. The Eagles have a great pass rush, which has really bothered Rodgers this year, is that he hasn't gotten the protection, as they say, from his offensive line, nor has he stayed in a position where they can protect him. And that's one of the things you have to look at. When they talk about the offensive line breaking down, but when you have a quarterback that's not already stationary, you think about Peyton Manning over his years of playing. He never tried to run the ball. You knew where it was going to be.
Yeah.
Tom Brady slides periodically in the pocket. He's not looking to run. But with Rodgers now in Green Bay, you don't know what he's going to do consistency-wise.
Yeah.
Whether he's going to try to run, whether he's going to stay in the pocket. And that's what hurt offensive linemen, Charlton. Not that Rodgers is playing bad. It's that he's not helping the offensive line. And when he's not helping the offensive line, people are going to say it's the offensive line problem. But you got to look at what the quarterback is not doing to help his fellow teammates.
Yeah, but speaking of helping your fellow teammates, the final game, the game that I'll be at, Big C, you have the Carolina Panthers, last year's Super Bowl runner-up. They're 4-6 with last year's MVP Cam Newton. They're at the Oakland Raiders at 8-2 on the season, and that's going to be Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. And the play-by-play is your friend Jim Nantz with the great Phil Simms and Tracy Wolfson. The Raiders are only favored by 3 at home, Big C, and Kuechly may be out for the Panthers. He's still on concussion protocol. You have for the Raiders Cooper and Crabtree and the great quarterback Carr. The Raiders are favored by 3. I will be back in that stadium. Hopefully the guys in the black hole will treat me with some love, Big C. Your thoughts on me getting some love in the black hole in that game, Big C?
Well, I'm looking at the secondary for the Carolina Panthers not getting any love. I mean, the Carolina Panthers made a grave mistake this year. Everybody's talked about the lack of productivity of a Cam Newton.
Yeah.
But they have one of the most dismal secondaries in the NFL. They started 2 rookie corners. You can't do that in the NFL, Charles. The reason why you're starting as a rookie corner because they didn't want to pay any veterans. Josh Norman left, took the big money in Washington. They're in the playoff hunt, but Carolina's going south.
Yeah.
And this is a game with a hot Derek Carr, Charlton, and the receiving core of the Raiders. They're going to hang some points on Carolina because they can go deep in this Carolina secondary. And with Luke Kuechly not in the middle, you have the fill-in middle linebacker. Thomas Davis is great.
Yeah.
But Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis together are the best tandem in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not going to be there this week.
Well, Big C, I tell you, it's been a great Thanksgiving, and I'm so appreciative. Everybody knows you got to be grateful. Hopefully, everybody can come together in this country and make things great again. We know that Donald Trump, he invested over $100 million into a plant in Latin America, so that's his idea of bringing jobs back. He didn't say where he was going to bring up Big C, so Donald Trump, good snake oil salesman job there. And also for everybody who wants to get into the world of sports, it's a great gig. You just got to go out and make it happen. We have the great Ohio State-Michigan game coming up. We have Florida and Florida State, and of course all the NFL games. I love myself personally the Notre Dame USC game. No matter what the score is, I just love the tradition, Big C. We'll let you close it out with, if you're probably not too stuffed with chicken, Big C. I know you love Alabama and the Auburn game, but in the final 30 seconds, Big C, just your thoughts on what you're looking forward to most this weekend, Big C. Go ahead, Big C. I think Big C.
This is the weekend, Charlton, is going to settle the college playoff scenario.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about Alabama, they're a shoe-in at number 1. They're going to take care of War Eagle. But you have Washington sitting at 5 looking to try to get in, Charles. And I think the winner of the Ohio State-Michigan game will be in, and the loser will drop out of the top 4, Charles. You can't keep a 2-loss team in the top 4.
Yeah.
Clemson should stay there also. But I'm looking for Washington to sneak into the playoff scenario. The NFL, this is a part of the season where all the best of the teams come out, Charles. The playoff hunt is on. Everybody in the NFC East, Charlton, nobody has a losing record. The best division in the NFL right now. So you look at that, a solid weekend of college football, solid weekend of professional football.
Yeah.
Hopefully they didn't have too much turkey like I did.
Yeah. It's funny. I think you did have too much turkey, Big C, but I will say I appreciate everyone worldwide for following Charlton and Big C Sports, the number one sports show in the universe, Big C, and the only freestyle sports show that means no producers, no teleprompter, no one in our ear telling us what to say. And as we always tell you, there's never any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, always call 911. Just get her some help. And as we always say, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, listen to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. And as we always say, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.